Hi, this is Jack Downs with a little review of the Images Exercise 1. This is an in-class assignment that if you were in class, you would have done along with me. If you weren't, well, you need to do it on your own. But you need to do it someplace with Photoshop. Probably the most complicated thing about this assignment is just getting the folders made right. So I suggested the structure here, a project folder called Images 1, for instance. Within that, within the project folder, an originals folder, you actually will have something to put in there this time. 2 images to download from our normal Google Drive download. They'll download into the downloads folder, then you're going to go copy them and go paste them into your originals folder. Within the project folder, a root folder named Images 1 and your name. It doesn't have to be a last name, whatever. Image 1, your name. Within the root folder, make 2 subfolders, one called Thumbs and one called Full, or something like that. Remember to follow all our naming rules and so on. The key point is, well, we're getting used to making more folders and folders within folders. The key point is we're making 2 different folders to hold 2 different kinds of photographs that you're going to make, that you're going to size. Now, this is an exercise with no HTML document in it. So there's not really a website at all. It's just 2 holding folders for photos. But I want them made this way. And what you're going to be zipping, again, is going to be the root folder, even though there's no HTML document involved, which will have 2 subfolders in it. Okay, so you can go Brightspace and download those images as suggested here. And you're going to go to Photoshop. And as a general tip for Photoshop, what does it say? Zoom in and out with Control+. Good. Go to full size with Control 0. That might end up have to be 0 on the numbers above the letters. Sometimes 0 on the number pad doesn't work in some Adobe products. Save for web method. When you know the width or height of the image, go to Open Image in Photoshop and choose File, Export, Save for Web. We'll be doing that first one. Set the width. Okay, so some of these are verticals and some of these are horizontals. And it's explained here. Our dimensions for horizontals are, for full size ones, 500 by 375. 500 would be like half the size of a normal like laptop screen. If you're working on a great big monitor, yes, it's going to be pretty small, but we're still considering that a full size image. It would be a pretty good size image on a website. And then we're going to do thumbnail images, which is little images, kind of like little mugshot kind of images. They're often called thumbs or thumbnails. But for horizontals, that's 100 by 75, and those numbers reverse for verticals. Verticals, horizontals. You know, do you hold the camera this way or you hold the camera that way? Good. So you have to keep that straight. So then you go on to the exercise, which then details some of this stuff. So let's go into Photoshop and try to go through this if I remember how to do it. This version of Photoshop, like so many Photoshop programs now, has this little strange menu that jumps around. I just say hide. Okay. And we'll see how much Photoshop has changed since I did this last. Who knows? I think this is probably the same version you have in the classrooms, in the labs. If it's slightly different, it should be pretty similar though. So the instructions say, save this file into the full folder with your root folder. Name the full gym in your name. We're making this full-size image. Okay, we're going to do this with the save to web method. Okay, so we go to File. Hold on just a second. Sorry, a little break glitch there. File, Export, Save for Web. Save for Web does lots of good things. But the first time you open it, the settings might be off. First of all, it's showing you like almost nothing on the screen. If that bothers you, you could try a Control 0, which would show you the whole thing, or stuff like that. But don't worry about it. So over here is what's critical. We want to have, and these settings are in your little handout, and they should work still. We want JPEG high. JPEG high. It may not be there. Maybe mine is that way because I've done this sort of thing here before. I'm not sure. And then JPEG is correct, and then high is correct, and then these buttons are all correct like this. Convert to S. Sure, that's all fine. And here's where you're going to have to certainly make some changes though. We're going to change the image size. We're not going to crop the image. We're sizing the image. We're making it smaller. Now this is a vertical image, correct? So in a vertical image, remember what my numbers were for the full one? It was verticals 375 by 500. And we see it is in pixels. Make sure this is in pixels. If this is set in inches, it's going to kill your Photoshop. There's a big difference between pixels and images, inches, as you should have seen, noticed from my last presentation. So I said the width of full size verticals is 375. Good. 375. And it sets the height automatically, just based on the proportions that the image is. Did it set it at 500? No, it set it at 545. Is that an error? No, it is not. We set the width of images, and if we don't need to crop them, and honestly, you wouldn't want to crop this one, you want to lose any more of that circle there, right? You set the width of images, and the height will set itself if you're not cropping. And then don't worry about the percent or so on and so forth. Then you click on Save. And this is where you're going to put it in your folder. And who knows where it's... Oh, it's gone to the My Originals folder. Images 1. This is the full. And I said you could call it something like Full Jack Jim. Whatever. This is the Jim photo. Right, good, sure. And say Save. Okay. While we have this image up, we can do the next step, which is the same thing, which is doing this image. Now we're going to do it as a thumb size. We're going to repeat the process. They're only 75 wide for horizontals. This should be about 75 by 100. We could do the same thing again. File, export, save for web. Honestly, we don't have to do it this way. We could just use a regular sizing now. But notice that something else is happening when we do Save for Web. It's actually removing a bunch of colors that don't display on the web. So it's really making a very nice small size. And now we're going to go to, instead of being width of whatever enormous number that is, it's going to be 75, which will be 109, which is fine. The rest of these settings didn't change. We click on Save. And now it's not going to be in the full. It's going to be in the thumb. And it's going to be called something like Thumb Jack Jim, whatever. All right, sure, save. Okay, so we saved those two images in there. I don't need this image here anymore. I can close it up. It's going to ask. It's going to ask for changes. Sometimes it might ask if you want to save your changes, because one of the other nice things about Save for Web is it saves a copy. So it doesn't disturb the original, which is great because you do not want your original. Oh, I see. I'm getting a message here. Save changes. For some reason, the box came up on my other monitor. No. Okay. All right. So we're going to now bring up the other image, which is called B-Ball. I'm just going to drag and drop into my Photoshop. You get this message. Don't worry about it. Contains file data. So on. Who cares? Okay. So here we have what I'm created somewhat artificially, somewhat a different situation. In this image, which happens to be a horizontal, we're going to say we want to crop it some. So we're going to use a cropping method for saving this. First, we want to make sure we see the entire image. So if we didn't, we do Control 0 or Control minus to see the whole image. Right, good. From the toolbar to the left, choose the crop tool. Fifth down. There it is, crop tool. Yeah, crop tool. I don't want to watch a video. Okay. So the crop tool could come up in any number of different versions, right? Of types of cropping to do. These are all the ones. You want width by height by resolution, which is this one right here. We're going to put in the numbers you want. Now this is a horizontal, right? Yes. So horizontal we know is going to be 500 by 375 for the full size. So we're going to go 500. So the and with this setting chosen, making sure we're in pixels per inch and not something else. No. PX. Okay, good. The width we said is going to be 500. Okay, that's something I have to fix. Hold on. Sorry, my Photoshop crashed. Let me try that again. Okay, so we've got cropping tool with height. Width is 500. Oops, pixels per inch. Now, wake up, computer. Okay, and the height this time we're going to set the height is going to be 375. I said yes. Okay, now what we see is that that's like most of the screen at this. But if I change the height, it's going to change it too. I'm actually going to just move it. Actually, I'm going to click on this. I can move the image underneath it, so it's about there. And I'm going to double click on it to accept the crop. It's gotten so tiny. Why is that? Don't worry about it. It's small for our big screen, but it's still the amount of resolution you need for 500 pixels wide. Okay, good. So once you do that crop, then you can revert to the Save for Web method. So now we just do the same thing before. So we go File, Export, Save for Web, and then those numbers won't change. That number won't change. We are just saving it. We're taking advantage of the fact that the Save for Web method removes extra color, so it makes it even a smaller file. And now we go ahead and say save, and also that it doesn't disturb the original. Save, and I'm going to not put this in originals. I want to put this into my images 1. This is my full, and I would call it something like full. I got an extra L in there. I think maybe who cares? So I'm going to click save. All right, and then I'm going to make an even smaller version. I'll just use Save for Web, File, Export, Save for Web, which is the best way to size web photos. And the width is going to be now going to be 100, and the height will set itself to 75. We don't have to do any other crop or anything because we already did the crop. And then we go ahead and say save. These are all settings are all the same. Say save. Now this is going to be the thumbs, and there we are. Thumbs, and it's called, I should call it something that makes sense. I will call this thumb Jack B-ball. Good. I'm going to say save. Looks so tiny. I can close this up now if I want, and I would not save my changes. And I will just show you what's going on here. What did we do? Here's my folder, my project folder. Here's my root folder. This is what I will do: compress, zip, and put on bright space. But within there, in my full, let's go back and look at the original images. They are about 1.6 and 2.2 megs, 2.2 thousand kilobytes, which is megs. Thousands of kilobytes are megs, megabytes. And so those are actually relatively small photos for these days to begin with. So they're not really that huge, but they're still too big for use on a website. So how small did we make them? We made them the right size to run as the 500 by 375 or 375 by 500 size image, which is a moderate size image on a website, or really small, like thumbnail images, which is really very small, probably smaller than you really use them. But that's okay. How small did they get? The full ones went from that 2,000 or 1,600 down to 25 and 66K. They got really tiny. And how about the thumbnail ones? They've gotten minuscule, 6K and 4K. Now you can see the value of doing this, of making the sizing the images. So go ahead and zip that folder up and put it up there. And this will be counted as extra credit on the next quiz, which I believe is coming up soon. Take a look at your schedule.